So every year, India drops its financial blueprint for the nation, a massive plan that ends up touching everything from the roads we drive on to the taxes we pay. We're going to break down the 2026-27 union budget. You can kind of think of it as the country's ultimate to-do list, with a very big price tag.
So, what's this all about, really? At its core, the budget is trying to answer one massive question. What is the financial roadmap for the year ahead? It's all about where the money is going to come from, where it's all going to go, and what the government is hoping to achieve with it.
And this year, they've framed the answer in a pretty interesting way. The finance minister herself said that the budget is inspired by 3 kartavyas, which is a Hindi word for duties. So this isn't just a spreadsheet full of numbers, it's a plan that's actually built on a philosophy of 3 core responsibilities.
All right, so here they are. These 3 duties pretty much give us the entire structure for our breakdown. First, powering the economy. Second, helping people achieve their aspirations. And third, making sure that growth includes everyone. Everything else in the budget is really designed to serve one of these 3 goals. Let's dig in. First up, let's talk about the engine room of the budget, how to accelerate and sustain economic growth. We're talking about the heavy hitters here, infrastructure, manufacturing, and just creating an environment where businesses can really thrive. Okay, but to make all that happen, you need some serious cash. And just look at this number, 12.2 lakh crore rupees. That's the proposed public capital expenditure, or CAPEX. To put it simply, that's the money the government is going to spend to build things, big assets that will power the economy for years to come. And if you look at this chart, you can see this isn't some one-off spending spree. There's a really clear, consistent upward trend. The strategy is pretty obvious. Use massive public investment in infrastructure to create jobs, pull in private investment, and ultimately give the whole economy a boost. Every single rupee spent here is meant to have a multiplier effect, stimulating activity everywhere.
So, you might be wondering, where is all that money actually going? Well, a big chunk is going into really ambitious projects like this. 7 new high-speed rail corridors. They're being called growth connectors. The logic is simple, right? If you link major economic hubs more efficiently, you create a ripple effect of growth all along those lines. But hey, it's not all about concrete and steel. The budget is also focusing on scaling up some really strategic high-tech sectors. A perfect example is Biopharma Shakti. This is a massive new initiative with a simple goal: make India a world leader in biopharmaceutical manufacturing. It's a really strategic play, especially right now when companies all over the world are looking to diversify their supply chains.
So, how are they going to pull this off? Well, 10,000 crore rupees over 5 years, that shows they're serious. But the money is just the start. This is about building the entire ecosystem, creating new research institutes, upgrading the ones we already have, and building a huge network for clinical trials. So it's not just throwing money at the problem, it's a whole ground-up strategy. And while they're making these big bets on high-tech sectors, they're not forgetting the real engine of the economy, small and medium enterprises. A 10,000 crore rupee growth fund is being set up specifically to help high-potential MSMEs scale up and become what the budget is calling champion MSMEs.
All right, let's move on to the second duty. This is where the focus shifts from the big picture economy to the individual. This part of the budget is all about fulfilling people's aspirations by investing directly in them through better education, healthcare, and skills. And wow, they're really casting a wide net here. We're seeing investment in specialized healthcare with new medical hubs. In education, there's a big push into modern skills with animation and gaming labs popping up in thousands of schools. There's support for women in STEM with new hostels and specific schemes to upskill people in sectors like tourism and even sports. It's a really broad push to empower individuals. And that brings us to our third and final duty, ensuring inclusive development. This is totally in line with the vision of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, and it's all about making sure that the benefits of all this growth are shared by every family, every community, and every region. So what does this look like in practice? Well, it means very targeted actions. For farmers, it's about using modern tech like AI to give them customized advice. It means tackling critical needs like mental health care by expanding top-tier institutions. And it's also about a specific focus on India's eastern states to help speed up development there, making sure growth is balanced across the whole country. Okay, so we've seen all of these massive, ambitious plans for spending, but that always brings up the big question, right? Who's paying for all this? Let's get into the tax proposals that are going to affect all of us, individuals and businesses alike. Well, the biggest headline on the tax front is a pretty huge one. A whole new income tax act is coming. The main goal, they say, is simplification, easier rules, simpler forms for everyone. This is a massive overhaul that's going to impact every single taxpayer in the country. And to give you a really concrete example of what's changing, check this out. The tax collected at source, or TCS, on overseas tour packages, it's being slashed to a flat 2%. That's a direct change that could make your next international vacation a little bit lighter on the wallet. Okay, this next one is a little bit of jargon, but stick with me, because it's super important for the IT sector. A safe harbor margin is basically a pre-approved profit margin for certain international deals. For companies, this means way less paperwork, fewer disputes, and a much more predictable tax situation. It just makes India a more attractive place for global IT operations. Now, let's talk about customs duties, because there are some key changes there too. The tariff on personal imports is being cut in half, which is great for consumers. And crucially, duties are being totally removed on 17 essential drugs. Oh, and notice how tax policy supports the bigger goals? The duty exemption for making lithium-ion cells ties directly into that push for energy security. All right, so after all that spending and on those tax changes, let's kind of zoom out and look at the big picture numbers, the ones that really define the health of the government's finances. This slide here really gives you the budget at a glance. You don't have to read every single number, just focus on the main columns. On one side, you've got total receipts, that's all the money coming in. On the other, total expenditure, that's all the money going out. And that gap in the middle, that's what we call the deficit. And this is the one number that economists are always watching, the fiscal deficit as a percentage of GDP. Think of it like this. If the whole country's economy is a pie, this number shows how big a slice the government is borrowing to pay for everything. And the chart shows a slight reduction, from 4.4% down to 4.3%. This steady path of shrinking the deficit is called fiscal consolidation, and it's meant to signal disciplined financial management. And all of this brings us right back to where we started. This whole budget is built on that foundation of three duties: growth, aspiration, and inclusion. So the real question this whole roadmap leaves us with is this. In a world that's full of challenges, can this budget actually pull it off? Can it balance its huge ambitions for growth with its promise to leave no one behind? That's really the ultimate test.